Today on the podcast, we're talking about the third biggest opportunity of the year for outreach at your church, and it might be a Sunday that you're overlooking. Welcome to the Must Increase podcast, where our mission is to increase His name through your church. I am your host, Luke Clayton, and I'm joined by my co-host and producer of the podcast, Mr. Bo Snyder. Bo, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it, Luke. Good to be here. Now, I'll tell you, we just got through Easter season, and Easter was fantastic. It was. And we had the Best Easter Ever podcast series, but I'm looking forward to getting on to other stuff.
Yes,
a lot
absolutely.
of good things coming up, so this is good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times this tendency for people to kind of, after they get through Easter, they kind of, pump the brakes and they think, okay, phew, it's over. But honestly, there's a lot more coming up and a lot of opportunities that you can take advantage of to reach people, to grow your church, and we're going to talk about one of those Sundays today. Now, I do want to highlight this first. Now, of course, Bo, we've been doing this podcast now for several months, of course, delivering it by way of audio, but this is the first podcast that we're doing that we're actually making it available by way of video. So if you're watching on YouTube or on our website or wherever you're at, welcome. And if you're listening and you want to watch, be sure to head over to mustincrease.com/podcast to find the link to watch this episode on video. So we're excited to try this out. We may be releasing an occasional episode on video from time to time moving forward, and we're excited to kind of experiment with this today. So thanks for being a part of that, and thank you for listening. We are so thankful for each and every one of our listeners, and for those of you who have subscribed to the podcast, we really want to thank you for that. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts, whether it's iTunes or Google Podcast or Spotify, or really there's just so many platforms out there you can listen on. So we thank you for listening, and we want to encourage you to subscribe.
Yep. As the producer of the podcast, I watch the numbers every, couple months or so, and our audience is growing, but we can always use your help by, once again, sharing it, liking it. It's always a big help to us. So this podcast is for church leaders and for you, so thank you to you guys, really. Yes,
absolutely. So thanks for listening, and let's move on to our topic of the day. And like we said, let's get this out of the way. There are two times of the year that are very obvious as far as big outreach, and we just came through one of them with Easter, and the other one is Christmas, okay? And of course, we've got to capitalize on these big opportunities to grow our church and to reach people. But there is one Sunday of the year that is so often overlooked as a big Sunday. And we don't usually think of it as a big Sunday, but it is one of the most organically attended. So what that means is it's one of the most naturally attended services of the year. And it's coming up here in just a few weeks. And in fact, less than 2 weeks away, I think, at the time we release this podcast. And that is Mother's Day.
Yep. It is a sleeping giant. That's the title of the episode. It is probably, and I'll give you some stats here in just a second, but for my research and talking to a lot of other church leaders, Mother's Day attendance is right behind Christmas time.
Yep.
It's really that close. It's one of those times of year, it's like you said, right after Easter, you kind of have that little lull, and people just kind of go right over it. But a lot of people attend church on Mother's Day that don't normally attend church. And I'll give some stats here in a second, but it's just kind of give you the idea of where we're going here.
Yeah, so it is the third largest Sunday of the year, according to USA Today, just behind Christmas. Think about this. With Easter, it's always a set Sunday of the year. Now, it always changes depending on what year it is, but it's always a set Sunday of the year. Yep. With Christmas, it's never, your Christmas service is never like a set in stone day. It's not like there's one universal day of the year that all churches come together and celebrate Christmas necessarily. Right. Now, a lot of churches will have a Christmas Eve service. Some of them may have like just a special Christmas service maybe a week or two before Christmas. But really during the Christmas season, there's just a lot of different Sundays that are good days for outreach at your church with the thought of Christmas in mind. So with Mother's Day, though, it is one of those days that's like, it's always going to happen. It's always going to happen on around the same. Once again, I think it's the second Sunday of May or something like that. So it's always a slightly different date, but it's always going to happen around the same time every year, really even more consistently than Easter, because Easter's date is so unpredictable. And so Mother's Day is a great opportunity to capitalize on reaching people and having a good day at your church.
As far as time of the year, like last year, Easter was what, March? It was in March.
It was April 1st.
April 1st. Okay,
right at the end of March.
Right at the end. And then, this year's a little bit later in the year. So really, Mother's Day, you can predict even closer. You can prepare for it more, plan more than you can at Easter, which is kind of crazy, but it's just the way it is. Let's go through a few stats here. And once again, just some research that we did. And, some of them are direct numbers. Other ones are just kind of statements, but you'll kind of get the gist of it here in just a second. Mother's Day is the ideal Sunday for attracting husbands that are usually reluctant to go to church. And piggybacking on that, there's another fact that says a lot of people credit their mothers to belief in God or their church attendance as a kid. So there's a huge demographic right there that you may hit on Mother's Day because husbands. Yeah, okay, she wants to go to church. Let's find a church, make her happy. And so it's little things like that you might get, X amount of visitors on Mother's Day that maybe didn't even come the month before at Easter. So there's a huge thing you can capitalize on here.
Yeah, if you think about it, a lot of times in homes, regardless of how Christian or spiritual a home may be, your mother is kind of she does bring the spirituality to the home in many cases. Now, there's a lot of fathers out there and men in the homes that are taking the lead, of course.
Sure.
But a lot of times women just tend to be more sensitive. They tend to be more, in this case, sensitive to the Holy Spirit, and they can be more of a leader spiritually in the home. And so because of that, like you said, a lot of people credit their faith to their mother or a grandmother or something like that. And so you can imagine on Mother's Day, moms are going to say, hey, kids, dad, this is the time of year to come to church with me.
I was just going to say, I didn't even write this one down, but I remember reading this. I think it was the same USA Today article. Is Mother's Day, when Mother's Day comes around, hey, Mom, what do you want to do? I want to go to church. Father's Day, hey, Dad, what do you want to do? Golfing or something, So it's just that strange dynamic of, okay, this is all about mom, and it should be, but naturally, thankfully, mothers want to take their kids and families to church. So all that to say, just a huge opportunity here for outreach.
Yes. So you've got mothers in your church that they may be attending every week, but their kids, grandkids, or even husbands may not be attending every week with them. And so this is one of those opportunities that they're going to say, hey, kids, dad, whatever, come to church with me. And I've seen this happen. I've watched it happen at our church. I've seen, guys that, maybe I knew from the past that I grew up with, that they kind of stopped going to church, but they show up to church on Mother's Day and they're sitting there with their mom, and it means the world to their mom. And so we want to talk a little bit about how you can gear your marketing and outreach and promotional efforts for Mother's Day. First of all, let's talk about some things that you don't have to do. You don't have to spend a lot of money on advertisement. Okay, we're not really talking about you're not trying to create the same feel on Mother's Day that you do for something like Easter. You're not trying to hype it up as this big service and, this exciting, kind of worship experience. Now, we will talk about the experience factor in a minute. But, whereas with Easter, we encourage you, do something a little out of the ordinary, do something special, do a presentation of some kind. So with Mother's Day, no, you're not looking for that same feel. So you don't have to go and spend a lot of money on outreach. A lot of churches are not even going to bother with getting, and it's okay, they're not even going to bother necessarily getting dedicated outreach or invite cards for Mother's Day.
Sure.
They're not going to necessarily go spend money on social media ads or even like a local newspaper ad or something like that.
Right.
But
as the title implies, it's the sleeping giant. A lot of people are not going to go out of the box for this, but it's still important.
Yes. And so, and you don't have to. You don't have to go all out as far as like spend a lot of money, because once again, you've got the biggest proponent for getting people to church sitting in your pews, and that's the mothers and the ladies of your church. And so what you should focus on for Mother's Day is making it a family-oriented experience. Okay, so this is going to feel a little bit more like a quote-unquote normal Sunday, with the exception of you are putting emphasis on mothers, yes, but also the family. So, some ideas, some things that we've thought of and that we've seen done is, you could have kids, perform a special type of, mini program for their moms. They come in, they sing a song about, the love of their mom, or they recite a poem or something. Of course, moms love watching their kids, or grandmas love watching their grandkids.
Right. Comment there. I don't know how many times I've been to a church service and, I walk in, 10 minutes till, whatever it is, and it's just packed. It's just full. And, a lot of parents are like sitting up near the front, and I immediately go, I bet they're having a kids special today. I bet the little kids choir is coming in. It's just, it happens, and that can get people to church like nothing else. It really can.
They're up there. They've got their phones out. They're ready to go.
Yep.
And so that's a great way is to say, hey, well, we're going to have just and it's not like it takes up your whole service.
No.
It's not too out of the ordinary. It's just, hey, that we're going to dedicate 5-10 minutes of the service to have the kids perform something special for their mom. Another thought is to have an opportunity for free photos with mom. So we've seen these photo op opportunities, and you get a backdrop, and maybe you get some, like photo booth type signs or whatever that says like, best mom ever, arrow pointing at mom or something like that. And these, moms, if they love church, but they also love pictures.
Oh, they love pictures.
They love getting pictures with their kids. My mom, love my mom, and every opportunity she can get to grab a picture with the family, it's like she somehow figures out like every other Sunday becomes a special Sunday. It's like, oh, we got to get pictures together. Everybody's all dressed up, and
well, I was just gonna interject there, and this is something. It's just funny how our culture is. People have thousands of photos.
Yep.
They have thousands of pictures on their phone, but this is something a lot of people don't have. They don't have a professional looking photo of their family with a nice backdrop, them all dressed up. It's actually very rare. I mean, I remember the days of our family going to Kmart and, getting a family photo and everybody dressed up in the same thing. People don't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, few and far between, of course. But just having something like that, it sounds really simple, but a mom would love that. They really would. So that's something, it's a good idea.
Yep. And even if you're thinking through the technical aspects of it, you're like, well, we don't have a photographer. We don't have a nice camera. Here's the truth. A lot of times you just get a nice backdrop. You get some nice lighting. And like I said, you have a couple of these maybe signs or photo booth type enhancements for the photo. Most people can just use their phone.
Sure.
Your phone takes very nice pictures, especially if there is good lighting. And so you can provide these photo opportunities. Another thing is to consider providing a small gift for each mom that attends that day. This is a pretty common practice.
Sure.
And depending on the size and the budget of your church, this will vary. Some churches will put, I've heard of some churches that, they'll spend up to $4 or $5 on each gift. Whereas, some churches say, man, we're going to keep it to something more expensive, maybe just $1. Something small, things I've seen in the past, like just things that are coming to my head, things like, I think one time they gave out like it was like a packet of seeds or something to plant flowers or something, and you can get really cheesy.
It's more of the thought that counts with that kind of a gift.
And you want to avoid being really cheesy with this, and you want to try to be as practical as possible with that. But that's just a thought of, giving away a gift to each mom. And then, of course, you could just encourage mothers and ladies in general by kind of gearing your service, your worship, your songs, even your preaching towards that of the mothers and the ladies in general in attendance. And so a lot of times the pastor will speak about a godly mother. They might preach from, something like Proverbs 31, talk about the virtuous woman. And obviously you don't want to get too cliche, but no matter what you're doing, you just gear the service towards your mothers in attendance and ladies. And like I said, overall, you're just trying to make it more family oriented. And of course, your church should always be family oriented. But this is the time to say, hey, we're going to kind of just think about what can we do just a little bit extra to make moms excited about coming to church here today and have them bring their kids, their husbands, and their families with them.
Excellent points there. And this is something, let's bring the media into it a little bit. It's what we do. Mothers, they're into social media.
Yeah,
they really are. Mothers, when it comes to their kids, they can post 1,000 pictures of their family and just, it's great. And it's something that's really neat that they can do. So how can we take that and apply it to Mother's Day leading up to it, maybe even after, but let's talk about what can we do organically. We've talked about that before. Once again, it's always important to be posting things, consistently, But leading up to this day, what can we do for Mother's Day specifically?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, you're not necessarily going to look into buying, Facebook ads or social media ads. Really, that's probably not necessary. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you do, you shouldn't spend a lot. You shouldn't really go above and beyond on your budget there. This is when you want to take advantage of what we've talked about before with that organic social media presence and more or less the word of mouth social media approach. So, for example, something you can do is you can provide some social media graphics that have to do with mothers, that's got things about Mother's Day, but then also quotes about how about mom, about how you love mom, and you can make those available to the people of your church, the moms and then other people of your church, and say, hey, we've got Mother's Day coming up. I want to encourage you to we've got these, we've got these on our social media account, or we've got these somewhere on our website. So you'll want to encourage them to go and download these images and start posting them to social media, so that and saying, hey, I'm excited about. And you don't always have to say like, come to my church. It's not like everything has to be a direct invitation.
Sure.
Just to make people aware that my Mother's Day's coming up, and my church is having a great service, and I'm really looking forward to church on Mother's Day. And so you kind of start using that social network to spread the word about Mother's Day just in an organic way. It's like we said before, social media is just digital word of mouth.
Yep.
And whereas when you spend money on an ad, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's not always that trust factor that's there when someone sees a quote unquote random ad from your church. Whereas when they see an ad from, oh, well, this is so-and-so that my neighbor or who I work with, they're like, oh, that, they already know them. They're going to kind of trust their opinion about your church in this case.
Well, I was just going to go back to, remember we talked to Jeremy Lanentine, and I know we reference him a lot, but he's so good at this outreach, is he talked about friendly eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have, how many mothers do you have in your church, in your church members? Okay. They obviously, they work with other mothers. They, have school friends with other mothers and all those kinds of things. So if they get a post from them, as a friend, as someone that they know and trust, hey, I saw something's going on at your church on Mother's Day. Hey, can I bring my kids? And there's so many opportunities, and that is what social media does in the right way. It just spreads like wildfire. But like we just said, my personal opinion, I wouldn't. There's so much more power in the organic post for something like this than there would be for paying for something, because mothers naturally trust other mothers, and it's just they talk.
That's right. And so you provide them with the content to post. Yep. Now, there's going to be the mothers that go to the Google image and they find some cheesy image of a flower and post it. But you have to keep that in mind. If you provide the image, if you say, hey, we've got some really nice, it doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 5 or 6, if that, social media images that you can go and you can use to post on for Mother's Day as we start gearing towards that. Well, what happens is if the image is nice and if it catches people's attention, people are going to see that. If it says something really sweet, really nice, people are going to like that. People are going to share that. And once again, you just kind of start to take that social media and it kind of starts to spread. So you can use social media. That is really one of the greatest ways. Of course, personal invitations are fantastic.
Oh, of course.
And like I said, I don't know if it's necessary for you to, invest into actual printed invitations for something like Mother's Day specifically, though if you want to take that approach, there's nothing wrong with it. But it's definitely something to say, like I said, you want to talk to your moms leading up to this day, the ladies of your church, moms, grandmas, people that have families and kids, and say, hey, why don't you... we want you to come to church. Obviously, you're going to come to this church because you're going to this church already. Think of the relatives, the kids, the whoever around you that can come to church with you on that day, and really just get them, because they're excited about, once again, going back to the whole premise that the moms love church, and they want their kids to come to church with them.
People are naturally a little softer around Mother's Day.
Yes.
We should love and appreciate our moms all year round, but there's certain times of year, especially Mother's Day. Okay. Go the extra mile to make mom happy.
Yep. Two types of organizations will be very busy on Mother's Day: the church and restaurants, because you don't want mom to have to cook on Mother's Day. And so anyways, you need to get your moms excited about it and encourage them. Say, hey, this is you look at it to them as an opportunity for them, not just to bring their family to them, but an opportunity to reach out to their family. You say, hey, moms, who knows? If you bring your kid that maybe is estranged from church, if you can convince them to come to church on Mother's Day, who knows? That may be the day that they, make their peace with God, or that they come to know Christ. And so that alone right there can just really impact a mom to say, yeah, I'm going to invite people to come. And another thing to consider about Mother's Day, kind of transitioning to the next thing here, Mother's Day often serves as a transitional Sunday as you transition into the summer. Now, yes, it's still technically spring. Summer on the calendar doesn't begin until June, but think about this. In most cases, college graduations have already happened by Mother's Day. The semester for most colleges is over by the time Mother's Day happens. And within just a week or two, sometimes 3 of Mother's Day, high school and elementary schools are going to be ending their school year. And so this is also a great time. Another thing about Mother's Day is to maybe on the actual day itself, give kind of a little sneak peek, if you will, about, hey, here's what we're doing at our church this summer. And because when people come to your church, that's great. You want them there, but of course you want them to come back.
It's a great transition time. It's a great time to highlight your church.
So it's a good time to say, hey, here's kind of what we're doing for the summer. Getting excited about things like Memorial Day and even Father's Day and 4th of July.
Camps, VBS,
kids,
all kinds of stuff.
All that stuff. We're going to talk about more of that in later episodes here. But so you can kind of get people into that mindset. So Mother's Day is a fantastic opportunity for so many reasons for your church. You're going to see organic, natural, just increase in attendance, and you've got this opportunity to transition into the summertime. So with that said, we're pretty excited to announce something that we are releasing as of today, and we have developed something that we're calling the Summer Media Bundle. This is a bundle of graphics and just media resources that you can use for your church to promote things starting with Mother's Day, but then to kind of transition you into the summer. So Mother's Day, like we talked about, kids programs, Memorial Day, Father's Day, Independence Day, all of these, we've got graphics and media for all of these events in the Summer Media Bundle.
Now, with summertime, a lot of churches, sometimes they even say, attendance is going to be down throughout the summer. And sometimes it can be, obviously people take vacations and, things happen throughout the summer. But there's still so many great Sundays and great things throughout the summer that you can always capitalize on. There's always something you can do. And once again, whether it's, with the kids or, once again, Father's Day, patriotic season's kind of coming up. There's so many things that are overlooked simply because, it's summertime, we're kind of going to take some time off and, we'll just wait for the fall outreach, which is a big deal too. But at the same time, please take advantage of these days. And you can do it, and it's just another opportunity to outreach. It really is.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about more as we get into the summer about how you can make the most of your summer. A lot of times summer is thought of as a downtime of year or whatever, but really there are things that you can do as a church to really make it a season of growth at your church, just in growth probably in a different way than what you're thinking, but more on that to come later. Anyways, you can get your Summer Media Bundle, and you're probably wondering, well, what does it cost? Well, here's the thing. You can get all of the graphics for, like I said, all these days coming up, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, Father's Day, and beyond. You can get all of these graphics as part of the Summer Media Bundle for free. This is something we're offering completely free. You can get promotional graphics, social media graphics for free. They're ready to go, ready for you to download and start using now. So head over to summermediabundle.com. That's summermediabundle.com, where you can download your free graphics, and you will see options for print materials that'll help you along in your summer and for other media resources as well. But the graphics of it are completely free, so you can head over to summermediabundle.com and claim your free summer media graphics today.
This is a great deal, by the way, and it's free, even a deal.
Yeah, is that free? Of course, it's a deal. Yeah, free is always a great deal.
And I've seen some of the stuff we put together. It is. I'm not the graphic designer here, but it is so good. And to just have those for free for the screens and for social media, it's a huge jump start. It's absolutely awesome, and you're great for putting this together for churches for free. So please take advantage of it. It's there. I mean, summermediabundle.com. Go for it.
Yep. And we provide resources like this because we want you to have to I guess, worry about one less thing. You've got to consider all the logistics and the organization, and you've got a lot of work to do as a church leader. And with this summer media bundle, you are going to have all of the graphics already taken care of you. And you've got multiple varieties of graphics for each day to choose from. I think in total, I haven't totaled it up yet. The number's not fresh on my mind, but I think you've got over 20 graphics files to choose from when you total everything together that you've got here. So once again, summermediabundle.com, get your free graphics for the summer and take one step towards having an awesome summer season at your church. Hey, well, we want to thank you for listening and for watching, if you happen to be watching on the video edition of the podcast today. And of course, with that in mind, we want to know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, you can, of course, leave a comment, or you can always email us at podcast@mustincrease.com. We also appreciate when you leave a review for us, specifically in the iTunes or Apple Podcast store. That helps us, of course, have valuable feedback, but when you rate and review, that also boosts our ratings in the iTunes store, makes more people aware of the podcast. So we appreciate you for doing that. Of course, as we said earlier, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. That means so much to us when you do that, when you subscribe. And then, of course, we love it when you share the podcast with others. We make this podcast for church leaders. So whether you want to just throw something out on Twitter, Facebook, or social media, or even if you just want to personally reach out to another friend that you know and say, hey, send them a text or an email or something and talk about the podcast. And, of course, we put this out every week because we enjoy doing it and we want to be a help to you. So thanks again for listening to the podcast. Once again, don't forget about your summer media bundle. We want to make sure you get that at summermediabundle.com.
Hey, just tell your friends about that.
Exactly.
If nothing else, tell them they get the free
right
media
there.
bundle.
Yeah, that's it. Once again, you can get your graphics for all your major summer events for free at summermediabundle.com. So thanks again for listening to or watching the Must Increase podcast, where it's our mission to increase His name through your church.